Hi, I'm Allison, a tiny trailer traveler and tiny hobby farm hopeful. And while life has happened real fast in the last couple of years since I moved my 200 plants out of my tiny house, we're long overdue to untangle some roots, repot the survivors, and say a proper goodbye to those I've lost along the way. And we're gonna start with
we got a big problem.
Well, good morning. I did have plans to go camping this weekend, but then I got a migraine for 3 days. I'm feeling better now, but I better not push my luck this weekend, and so I'm gonna have an inside weekend. I'm gonna relax a little bit, but my hands cannot be kept still. Not surprisingly, I have some plant projects to do. I have some new additions to the collection. I have some friends who need a bit of pest control. And overall, I just need to catch up on a lot of plant chores.
Big problem to solve today. Bought Chuck like 15 months ago, and unfortunately he got a bit neglected while I was out for 2 months. Long story. Yellowing, a little bit of cracking. This one is definitely gonna go. We've got this nice big pot for him, but the problem is I can lift Chuck and I can lift the pot, but I can't lift Chuck and the pot. We're gonna have to do this right here on the floor in my entryway. Luckily though, we have some drop cloth left over from painting, left over from Christmas. It's what, April now? Still haven't picked up all the Christmas decorations that went astray while I was cat sitting. Anyway.
This big boy has been the elephant in my front room for a while now. While Chuck is a pretty special plant to me, his current condition is a very obvious mile marker on the wild road that was my life in 2023. See, I bought Chuck the weekend of my wedding. Now, if you don't follow my other social media or are close personal friends with me, you might need a second to recover from Whiplash, and, well, trust me, I did too. I have fond memories of finding Chuck in one of my favorite nurseries on our way home that weekend, and finding the guy they called Chuck to help carry him to the front for us. Then there was walking across the street to rent a trailer to haul him home because he wouldn't fit in my truck. It really is a great plant story. I'll spare you the details, but it wasn't long before that happy weekend would be but a distant memory, and I'd be in court for over a year. See, at some point not long after I got Chuck, I had to leave my house. And I'm just gonna say it plainly, I had to leave my house in a hurry. I was in a bad situation and it wasn't safe for me to be there. And the courts agreed with me, but it still took 2 months for the law to work the way it's supposed to, and during the hottest part of the year, no less. When I finally did return home, my worst fears were realized. There'd been a lot of casualties while I was out, and a lot of my plants, some I'd cared for the better part of a decade, were as dead as my marriage. Chuck here, though, among still many others, were hanging on. Over the following months, others died of the shock, while some are still visibly recovering a year later.
Well, you don't see that every day.
Look at this. No idea. This is a beast. How are we gonna get this apart? How are we gonna fix this? It felt like the roots had become fused to the pot or something. In total, it took about 2 hours with a bone saw, hammer, and various other tools to free him from his plastic prison and separate the roots to give him a fighting chance in the new pot. In the weeks after this repot, a couple more leaves have gone kaput, but the browning has slowed down, and it looks like Chuck might still thrive again someday after all. I have a feeling we're going to need the second bag of soil I bought. Yep, gonna need this. I broke my GoPro. Now I gotta fix it. It did take me a while to pull myself together to even take out the empty pots, but when I did, I was left with a lot of empty spaces in my home that were once filled with life. As you can imagine, as one naturally does with such holes, I filled them. So today we're back up to a pretty large stock of plants again, but it's also been a year since I've bothered to take a day to put them all in pots after they've acclimated. And now I have a backlog longer than a pothos vine to work with, which I'm going to attempt in one day. There's cacti, there's succulents, there's foliage, and of course there's a few plant repairs I need to make after about a month of cat sitting. Don't bother keeping count at home, I'll tell you right now we're about to repot 30 plants. I didn't count them as I was pulling them, of course, but maybe I should have, as it would have been a spoiler that Saturday Allison bit off a little more than she could chew. Looking at the pile of plants behind you, I'm already tired. I'm gonna go get some coffee. Cheers. That's a lot of plants. I'm gonna need a minute. The hardest part is starting. Remember that. Let's just start small. Haworthia gustaria, or little warty, but these are pretty cute warts. Little warty can actually thrive in low light conditions. At least that's what I learned in my tiny house. This is the second time I've potted this bumpy boy, but over the years the pots haven't gotten much bigger, and they probably won't. He'll only grow to be 6 to 12 inches. I read a description of this online once that described its leaves as tongue-shaped, and I've been delighted and disgusted ever since. All right. One down. This is a cute new friend. See if I can get this right. Gymnocalacium frederickii. Variegata, of course. This is just the cutest little cactus. And it gets to go in one of my cutest little pots. That's easy. You know those weird little orange and yellow and pink and red cacti you see grafted to an unusually sad green stem over at the old Home Depot? Those, by the way, totally lack chlorophyll and would die if removed from their cactus host. Well, Gymnocalacia, whatever, let's just call him Fred. Fred here is a cousin of those cacti. Also known as grafted moon cactus, they grow naturally at low elevation in South America, and apparently they produce offsets easily that graft well, so I'm looking forward to that. Fenestraria ropalophila. Okay, Fenestraria ropalophila. Baby toes. I didn't know what this was when I bought it, but I wanted to pinch its little cheeks, and that was enough for me. This one hails from South Africa and prefers to grow on quartz, the fancy little thing. Delospermolamanii, aka the Iceman. Just kidding, it's called the ice plant. The ice plant succulent was marked as fragile, and they were not kidding. If you look at this plant wrong, it'll snap a leaf. Make a loud noise, snap a leaf. Think about it, snap a leaf. It prefers to keep its toes in the sand, thriving in the Namibian desert with only its transparent tips poking out of its sandy substrate. Haworthia tessellata. I think this is an alligator plant. Its flesh looks close enough to an alligator to me, but these are so small they don't look exactly like the reference photos I found. But I'm happy to call this baby Allie the alligator and call it a day. Look at those cute little scales. The spines, not so cute. This is one of my favorite kinds of cacti. It is a thimble cactus, and it is just the cutest stinking thing you've ever seen. At least I think so. There's a pest on you. This little cutie hails from Mexico and is not like the other cactus girls. It likes humidity and regular water, so this is the only one of my cacti who gets watered on the same schedule as the foliage. And in a heat wave, it lives near the humidifier with my ferns and philodendrons. It's always a good day when I am peeling labels because I transplanted a thing, not because a thing died. That's the best I can do, friend, without hurting myself. This is one of my favorite succulent things that I've found. I found it on a road trip through Oregon, down the Oregon coast, in an off-grid nursery. It's delightful and it has little babies. We got little babies everywhere. The pot is getting rather crowded. We want to separate the babies. We want to give them their own pot so they can flourish and have their own babies, go live at my office with friends or with family, or I'll just keep them all for myself. I don't know how I'm gonna get this out. Oh, we're loose. Come on, yeah, all right. I would have expected more roots than this. What's in your roots, buddy? What is that? Is this newspaper? What is this? It's yellow and there's writing on it. What on earth? Yeah, there's print on this. How did you get there? But I want your babies. They are packed in here. Again, I see the leaves of this plant described as tongue-shaped, and that's just gross and awesome. This gasteria has grown slow under a weak grow light in my house, but has since started to put off more pups with the added natural light of my new house. This guy loves well-draining soil and also gets watered with the cacti just about once a month. This plant is also poisonous, so it lives behind closed doors with the rest of the Deathbringers for those times that I am pet sitting. We are just one big happy family, aren't we? Worthias are so cool. Oh no! Someone got left behind. Where'd you come from? I don't have many finicky plants, and I only have 2 of them living in my terrarium, and this Alocasia black velvet is one of them. This is my second black velvet, as my first one didn't have enough heat or humidity, so it melted into a puddle of goo on my countertop before I even got the chance to decide where to put it. Ta-da! However, I'm glad I decided to try one more time, and what used to be a 2-inch pot with 1 sad leaf is now a thriving, albeit still extremely needy, star of the tropical corner. Alexa, stop. Alocasia amazonica. Fertilized bi-monthly, my goodness. Soil sucker. Maybe that's how your predecessor, It's pretty clear why this Alocasia would steal my heart. It's another one of those tropical foliages that look like some kind of prehistoric creature. I used to have a pretty large one of these, but it didn't survive the drought. So it's also one of the first plants I went out and replaced. It's done well with mixed natural and artificial light, but it did really well in the tiny house with 100% artificial light. Of the Alocasia, I find the amazonica to be one of the easier to keep alive. Well, I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong, and this is entirely my fault. Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. I put this thing in way too big of a pot, and when it experienced the drought, it dried out, and then I watered it, and the pot was too big, and it rotted the roots, and I'm sorry. We do have double prize here on the leafage, so we have 2 leaves coming out. All hope is not lost. is marbles in the bottom of that? Who did that? Oh, that's not so bad. Here's a not as easy to keep alive Alocasia, but this Hyo Beauty seems to be showing me some minute amount of grace here that I wasn't expecting. So let's see if we can't revive it, shall we? A small pot and consistent watering and feeding should give her a fighting chance. I couldn't resist. I got this Thai Constellation on sale. She was the last one left, and I had given myself that day a budget of $100 at the nursery. And with the sale, it cost $100. I have no regrets. Oh, hi, Swiss cheese plant. We don't have any Swiss cheese yet. We do not yet have any fenestrations. I have hope that this next one down here, that's going to pop, I don't know, a few weeks to a month or so. We might get some fenestration someday. Woohoo! You were ready for a new pot, weren't you? My goodness, all my monsteras. You grow up so fast. These are very healthy looking roots. I'm happy with this. A little root bound, but healthy. Ah, so cute. I need to fight the instinct to grab soil out of the bag with my hand because inevitably some of it ends up in my slipper. Cute. This long boy delights me. It grows every which way, wherever it feels. Kind of like me. Ever since I bought it months and months and months and months and months ago, it has been trying to put off this leaf, and it is just about, ooh, there's a spider on there. I'm sorry, ooh, I disturbed a spider. I'm sorry, you can't live here. I have to repot you, you can't live in there. This plant has been trying to sprout a leaf for quite some time, so... Oh, there's another spider! I don't know where that one went. Great. Anyway, I hope giving it some new fresh soil will help move things along. Ooh! My philodendrons are all fruit bound. This guy does have some rotten roots. That's unfortunate. I'm glad I did this. Yeah, I don't want any of this dirt. No, 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 no. You're a rotten one, Mr. Grinch. All right, dead roots and hopefully spiders are gone. Like other philodendrons, this Longfellow is toxic, causing swelling, drooling, and loss of speech if ingested. It also irritates skin and eyes. But look at how cute, though. Philodendron Pariso Verde. A regal name for a regal sounding plant. I wouldn't know, I can't pronounce it that well. The Pariso Verde looks like a dessert if a dessert were a philodendron. Apparently it also loves to climb, but this one's pretty new, so we'll see how long it takes before it needs a moss pole. After this repotting, I also made a small error and gave it too much light, so now one of the leaves is a little too dark. So we'll see if we can get its minty goodness back in some less direct light. This is delightful. Oh my gosh. It's a plant that looks like a dinosaur, and I love it. Alocasia Sulawesi. Alocasia Sulawesi. Jacqueline. Alocasia Jacqueline. I guess we could call her Jackie. All right, Jackie. Alocasia what? Alocasia Sulawesi. Sulawesi. I'm not gonna remember that. Alocasia Sulawesi. Just call her
Jackie?
It's Alocasia Solwesii.
So, Jackie, what do you do for a living? Oh, really? Down at the truck stop, huh? That's a stick. You probably don't want that. Do you like sticks, Jackie? Arrowhead plant, it says. Syngonium POD. There's an abbreviation here. I don't know what it means, but it's a syngonium. Syngonium albo. Syngonium albo variegata. What should we call you? Al. How about Al for short? Albert. We could call you Albert.
Otherwise known as the mini monstera, Rhaphidophora tetrasperma has aggressively grown everywhere I've put it in my house, and I fear one day it will just walk right out the front door and terrorize the neighborhood. So for now, it's in a dark corner and still growing fast while I figure out what to do with these vines, and maybe go lock my doors.
This is messy. This philodendron wants to grow everywhere all at once, and it's got this kind of big, not super attractive, non-variegated vine here. And then there's the nice pink princess variegated vine here. We want this part. I don't really care much about this part. Snip, snip. We've got some, whoa, oh, hey, look at that. That was a Hoya I killed. Oh, you've got really little spines that I can't see. Ooh. Oh, please don't stab me. Alexa, play my podcast. Look at this little guy. Andromysius maculatus. Andromysius maculatus. Oh my gosh, you're adorable. Oh, so cute. All right. Century plant. I really love the century plant's foliage, and it takes them about a century to unfurl one of these little leaves. I had this plant for over a year with one of these on it fully closed when I bought it. Over a year it took to open this. So this will probably be fully open by the end of summer, and then maybe start a new one right before winter. 3 leaves in 3 years probably will get out of this guy. After a century, we should have a pretty impressive plant for my grandkids or something. Ooh, we got some spines. Clearly we like a well-draining soil.
You might think the century plant name is some piece of exaggerated branding, and you'd be correct. It only lives 10 to 30 years, but it does only bloom once at the end of that life. So I think we may have about a decade to go before we see a bloom on this one. And with my luck, it'll probably be when I'm out on a road trip, like a lot of my other cacti. Not that I'm bitter about that or anything.
See if it makes you grow any faster, huh? You lazy bum. This is gonna be fun. Mertil Cactus geometrizans. Did I say that right? Mertil Cactus geometrizans, or blue candle cactus. Myrtle, I should call you Myrtle. Let's see if I can get this out of the pot without tongs. Ah! Never try to catch a falling cactus, by the way. Speaking from experience. Ow, 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 ow. Try not to get stabbed is the worst game to play with your cactus because you will always lose. You're gonna outlive me in this pot, you hear me?
The paper spine cactus is one plant that looks exactly like its name. I can say from experience, though, that cats mistake them for a mouse toy and enjoy pawing at them. I've been picking up arms around the house for a while now, but all they need is to be stuck back in the dirt and they'll root again just fine. Hoya Carnosa compacta, otherwise known as the Hindu rope, this little or big curly girl's leaves are thick and sturdy, and it's been extremely drought tolerant. However, not long after I planted this one and watered it heartily during a heat wave, it bloomed.
I've been at this for hours now, and I'm quite tired. I should order pizza or something because my stove is still covered in plants behind you. I'm almost done though. I need to prep all of the food I need to eat next week in that area where all the plants are in. Kind of like the tiny house days, huh? I have 5 pots left. That's not that much. We can do this. Day 2. Still got 5 pots to do, so we're gonna get that over with today. It wasn't supposed to take this long, but it did. Ew. Am I gonna have to break this glass? There we go.
I took these pothos cuttings probably over a year ago, and they have since turned into proper vines. The plant I cut them from, which I'd had for about a decade, did not survive the drought, but these cuttings did. So Vinny the Vine's legacy lives on.
Time for the tongs to make an appearance. This just says cactus, assorted. I don't know what this is.
I don't know what kind of cactus this is, but it is globular and fuzzy and gets pink flowers and hasn't caught any pests yet. So it's welcome in my house, whatever it is.
You know, I had a hard time falling asleep last night because my hands were itchy from little tiny cactus fuzz being stuck in them. Feel better now. We only have 1, 2, 3 cacti left to go. Oh, I'm gonna be up late itching again tonight, aren't I?
With the common name Roadkill Cactus, this opuntia gets its name from, well, clearly being flat as roadkill. It hasn't officially survived the drought, but it's very tolerant to cutting, so there's hope yet for this little guy. He's not roadkill yet and is still full of personality. This iconic piece of foliage has always been happy in my house, despite some people's complaints about its finicky temperament. This one's new. My huge one I had for about 8 years didn't make it, but it was super happy in the most humid places in my house, be it by the sink or, these days, near a proper humidifier. There's one more really important creature left to say goodbye to. The most devastating loss I've endured in what was already a pretty awful year was losing my dog Isis. You've been seeing her since I started making videos. She was my best hiking buddy of 11 years and more than 10,000 miles. My companion on, I don't know, like 200,000 miles of road tripping over the years. Isis was 16 years old when she was put to rest under this Japanese maple tree in my garden. Now, I'm not much of an outdoor gardener, but Hey, life is never going to be the same without her anyway, so why not start, right? It's been a year, and I still think about her every day. Have a portrait of her by my bed I look at every day, and I'm sure I will until the morning that I don't get up again. In the garden of life, the plants and animals are always changing. Everything is impermanent, so if we can be at peace with that fact, we can savor it while we can, however long we have with the creatures we love. Some stay for a decade and change your whole life. Others only stay for a few months and still might change your whole life, for better or for worse. I'm just happy to be gardening, you know? And thanks for gardening with me.